The weight of an entire nation rested on his left boot for 16 long years. On December 18th, 2022, Lionel Messi finally chased down the only ghost that mattered. He was born in Rosario, Argentina. He arrived in Barcelona as a boy with growth hormone deficiencies and a heart bigger than his frame. He conquered Europe. He conquered the Ballon d'Or. He conquered every record books dared to hold. Yet, for a generation, the critique remained the same. He was the greatest club player in history, but he was incomplete. He was missing the golden trophy. 2006, 2010, 2014, 2018. Each attempt ended in agony. In 2014, he stared at the World Cup trophy in Brazil, losing to Germany in extra time. It was a look of pure heartbreak. It became the defining image of his career. People said he was cursed. They said Argentina was a team of 10 players waiting for a miracle. They said the crown belonged to Diego Maradona, and it would stay there forever. Then came the Qatar World Cup. It was Messi's fifth tournament. At 35, he was no longer the explosive winger who could dribble past 5 men from the halfway line. He was the conductor. He was the mastermind. He walked for most of the game, conserving energy, scanning the pitch like a hawk, waiting for the one moment where the lock would click open. The opening match against Saudi Arabia was a disaster, a shock defeat. The pressure turned from heavy to suffocating. Argentina had to win every single game from that point on or go home in the group stage. Messi didn't break. Against Mexico, he found the bottom corner from 25 yards out. The tension broke. The team breathed. Against Australia, he danced. Against the Netherlands, he delivered an assist that defied the laws of physics, threading a needle through a defensive line that shouldn't have existed. Against Croatia, he turned the world's best young defender, Josko Gvardiol, inside out, setting up the goal that sealed their spot in the final. Then the final. Lusail Stadium, 89,000 people. Across the field stood Kylian Mbappé, the heir to the throne, the man who had been Messi's teammate at PSG. The Frenchman was faster, younger, and ruthless. Argentina dominated early. Messi scored from the spot. Angel Di Maria added a second. With 10 minutes left, it looked like a coronation. Then Mbappé happened. 2 goals in 90 seconds, a brace that silenced the Argentine fans and turned the world upside down. The game went to extra time. Messi scored again, a rebound from close range. It was 3-2. The trophy felt like it was finally, truly his. But Mbappé wasn't finished. He completed his hat-trick in the dying minutes. 3-3. The greatest World Cup final ever played was heading to a penalty shootout. A shootout is a lottery, but legends don't play the lottery. They make their own luck. Emi Martinez saved. The Argentines stayed perfect. Gonzalo Montiel stepped up to take the final kick. He scored. The stadium exploded. Messi fell to his knees. It wasn't just a win. It was the closing of a circle. He had played 26 World Cup matches, the most in history. He had scored 13 World Cup goals. He had provided 8 assists. He became the first player to score in every round of a single World Cup: the group stage, the round of 16, the quarterfinal, the semi-final, and the final. He didn't just win the trophy. He dragged an entire culture toward redemption. Back in Buenos Aires, millions flooded the streets. It was the largest gathering of human beings in the history of Argentina. They weren't just celebrating a sport, they were celebrating a man who had finally granted them peace. When he lifted that trophy, draped in a traditional bisht, the debate about the greatest of all time effectively ended. Not because of the stats, although the stats are staggering. Not because of the dribbling, though the dribbling is art. It ended because of the narrative. Football is a game of heartbreak. It is designed to be cruel. It punishes the best players on the planet with failure 99% of the time. Messi spent his entire career in the shadow of 1986. He spent his career being compared to a ghost. When he finally stood on that podium, he wasn't just holding gold, he was holding the culmination of a decade and a half of relentless, agonizing, beautiful persistence. There will be other talents, there will be faster players, there will be strikers who score more goals, but there will never be another arc like this. A small boy from Rosario who moved across the ocean, conquered the world, suffered through the losses, and returned home at the very end of his peak to claim the one thing that defined his legacy. He chose the perfect stage to say goodbye to the world's greatest tournament. He didn't leave with a whimper or a decline. He left at the absolute zenith, standing on top of the mountain, holding the only thing he had ever truly wanted. History is written by the winners, but legends are written by those who refuse to let the story end in defeat. Messi fought the history books, he fought the expectations, and in the end, he forced the world to change its definition of greatness. If this was truly his last World Cup, how do we measure what comes next? Is it possible to watch the game the same way again, knowing we just witnessed the final chapter of the most perfect story ever told? Or are we now just living in the era of the aftermath, where every future champion will be compared to the ghost of a man who actually managed to catch his dreams?